Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. So let's start with today's session and let's see what exactly we're doing today. Let me quickly share my screen and let's do a quick recap yesterday, what we did yesterday. So yesterday we spoke about what exactly is Scrum workflow, how the Scrum workflow works. Then we spoke about what is lean development, what is Kanban. Then we spoke about what are the different tools integrated with Azure DevOps. Then we spoke about work item management in Azure. There are four processes: basic, scrum, agile, and CMMI. Okay. So as I said, basic is mainly used just for trial basis, just for testing. Like if you want to if you're working as a closed group, 2, 3 people, and if you want to do work item management just for a namesake, then you will be using basic. Scrum is basically used for small and mid-scale project. Agile can be used for large-scale project. CMMI, if you want to have with work item management, if you want to do change, risk management, and issue management, then CMMI will be the right fit for you. So in our case, we'll be using Agile. Agile Scrum is one of the same thing, guys. The only difference will be the naming convention and the number of sprints and iterations. Okay. So we'll see. We'll go back and we'll use Agile, and we'll see how we can create epic issues and everything using Agile process. So the project which we created last time, this project was created by default. Like I have not made any changes to the process or anything else. So this project got created with basic as default. Now how do I know? The one way I can know is by going inside the project, seeing the boards item. You can see the work item. There is only three options: epic, issue, and task. The second way is you can go to project settings and you can know the process is basic. And one important thing, once the process is set, you cannot change the process, guys. So what I can do, I can go and delete this project. I'll go to my organization settings, go to projects. I'll go and delete this project. The reason I'm deleting, because I'll recreate the same project with the same name with, I can do a restore again if you see, but I will not do a restore. Basically, I'll go and get a new project created altogether. So the project is deleted. I can still restore. You have 28 days to restore your project, guys. So it will restore everything. So whatever you have, so we had repositories, we have some code inside it, and many things we have, correct? So if I go and restore the project now, it will restore everything for me. Okay. But I'll not restore. I'll simply go and create a new project. Let's name the same name I'll give. I'll select public, private. Now I can go over here in the version control, I'll select Git, and then the work item process, I'll select Agile this time. Basic is by default. So whenever you create a project, a basic process gets selected by default. Make sure to change it to Agile. Even this setting we can change it later. I'll show you how we can change the settings. But for now, make sure to change this to Agile. Okay. So just creating a new project. And remember, guys, I've asked you to fill in a parallelism form. Did everyone filled it? This form I have asked everyone to fill in. Make sure to fill this because after the work item management will be jumping on to build pipelines, continuous integration. At that time, this will be required. You will need free agent pool. Remember yesterday I spoke about that we get 1800 minutes free. That 1800 minutes free will be given only when you fill in this form and send it to Microsoft. Okay. Put your name, put your email address. Your organization name will be nothing but till here. This is the name of your organization. Copy the entire thing till your organization name and put it over here. Make sure to put it as private, not public, and submit. Okay. So this will give you 1800 minutes free, which we can use for our CI/CD process. So this was informed earlier, but if you're not filled in, make sure to fill this, because after that you'll not be able to use the CI/CD part. Okay. Okay. Now this is my new project which got created. Now if I go in the board section, you can see in the new work item, do you see? We got epic, feature, we got user stories, tasks. So there are good amount of things we are seeing it now. So this is agile. Now wherever you see user story, so that means it's agile. Okay. If you want to confirm, go to the project settings, see the process agile. You got agile process. Okay. Okay. So when you log in for the very first time, when you create a project for the very first time, this is the dashboard screen summary page, what you see. All these things will start filling up when we start working on a project. So you can see on the right hand side, you can see the project statistics. Automatically the statistics will start popping up over here. You can see how many members are there, and you can see all the relevant information about your project right over here in the screen. So this will automatically pop up. On the top you can see it's a private, it's not a public project, and from here you can invite people. So this is not the right option. I'll show you how do we add people to your project. Later I'll show you how do we add people to your project. Okay. And this is the name of your project, basically. Dashboard. Now dashboard is kind of, there are n number of widgets which is available. Dashboard is like you can have a reporting tool kind of created for yourself, like how many build pipeline got succeeded, how many release pipeline got succeeded, how many commit has happened, how many work items, how many user stories assigned to my team, to myself. All this you can do over here. So being a DevOps engineer, I'll suggest this is a brownie point for you guys. Make sure to create a good looking dashboard. That dashboard can be shared across multiple people. It can be shared with your project owner. Your project owner will not have time to go inside and see how many work item has been assigned and things like that. If you create a dashboard for him and if you share it with your team, then it will be, as I said, it will be a brownie point. Now basically this is how you can go, like assigned to me, these are the tasks you can use. Build history, if you want to see how many build has passed. Burn down chart, this is very good for your scrum masters. Code title, cycle time, deployment status, embedded web page, if you want any web page to be embedded on your dashboard, that you can do it. You can have how many pull request status if you want to check. You can have the pull request status. Query, display the total number result from the query. Release pipeline overview. Requirement quality. There are so many. If any of this missing, like if you think, no, I need something more, then you can go to the extension gallery over here and you can download more dashboards basically. Now, how exactly this dashboard looks like, let me show you a different project. Hopefully I have something over here. See, this is how your work I assigned to, this is how your sprint burn down chart will look like. And this is how your query will look like. How many tickets has been assigned, how many tickets are kept blank. This is how your sprint burn down chart will look like. This is how your team story CFD diagram will look like. This is how your dashboard should be created. I have very less information in this project, hence there are no much details you can see on the dashboard. But when you have a project which has many information, then your dashboard will also look very good. So make sure to create a dashboard for yourself and have the right set of widgets created for yourself so that you have a good looking dashboard created. There's one more tool called Wiki. Wiki is basically same like Wikipedia, how you have Wikipedia. So what Wikipedia does, it gives you information. Correct? If you look for any topic, it gives you detailed information like how that topic was and things like that. Same thing over here. When you're creating a project, see, project is your baby. Being a DevOps engineer, when you create a project, when you set up CI/CD pipeline, when you set up your branching and merging strategy, and when you set up all this, so you need to have some sort of white paper written for yourself, not for yourself, for others also. Like where you create a white paper, you create flow diagram, you create your branching and merging diagram, and things like that you create. So where do you keep it? So Wiki is the right place to keep all your documentation. Why? Because this will be part of your project itself. If anyone comes telling you what is the branching and merging strategy, why are we following this, so you can simply show the wiki page and the documentation and the sign off which you took from all the respective stakeholders. So there's no blaming game over here. So whatever you do, you have the project manager and everyone sign off. You have already discussed things and you have the documentation in place. So that is what wiki does best for you. You can have a good wiki diagram created like this. Now this is very good, guys. This takes all sort of HTML content also. Like for example, if I'm creating a home page over here, now I want to have my home page something like this title I want to use. Welcome to, see that. So see this. I'm using the H1 syntax of HTML. So this takes HTML tags and everything. On top of it, it can use hyperlink, it can use tables creation, and many, you can also use attachment and many things you could do. So this is a home page which you have created. See, this is how it looks. And if you want to create any sub page, you can simply go and create add sub pages to you. For example, I'll just write it as sub page. So make sure to use this option. This is a very valid option which you will come across, and make sure all your documentation are kept in a single location. Okay. There are, I know there are other SharePoints and things like that, but SharePoints and all that is a third party tool, guys. Now, if someone is asking, like being a DevOps engineer, you will be training others also. Like you will be training what CI/CD you have created, what branching and merging strategy you have created, what infra as a code script you have written. So you'll be training others on those. So for the training, you will be creating documentation as well. And if you have the documentation in place, if some new guy is joining in, you can simply ask him to go and follow the documentation first, then come to me, or else he'll start eating your brain from day one. So it's for your convenience. Make sure you have all your white paper, project related white papers are kept inside this wiki page. This is a very good tool to use for. Okay. So two tools, dashboards and wiki. Understood, guys? Any questions? What exactly these are?
So, will DevOps engineers be the one that will start this wiki up and um, document or develop the white papers that you're talking about, or will he get help from maybe the developers that have access to the project? Or
Uh, any document which relates to you directly. For example, branching and merging strategy. So you defining the branching and merging strategy. That document is something you need to create. You define the CI/CD strategy. You define what this build pipeline will do, what the release pipeline will do, and these all documentation will be your responsibility. A developer will not help you. ARM
just
templates, yeah. So even developers can use this wiki. So even they will have different sort of white papers for their project. Whatever they do, they will have different sort of white papers. So yeah, they can have their own section created and they can start putting their information also. But yeah, from the project standpoint, whatever you do, because you creating the project, you setting up everything, you're setting the policy and everything you're doing. So that needs to be written somewhere, because how others will know what is the strategy, how others will know what is the policies. So referring to this white paper, they will all know what exactly we are doing inside this project. Yeah, so it is an equal responsibility, because even developers are working on their project. They are doing some sort of things. The testers are working, so even they want to create something and they want to put it in the wiki, they are free to do it. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, can we get, are there templates for all those white papers, or there's something that will start from ground up? I mean, instead of reinventing the wheel, is there like good starting point for those or not?
So predefined made templates, I don't think so, because that will not suit your requirement. Now, what exactly you will be doing your project, what things are doing, what you are developing, predefined templates, I doubt, but still you can try to find out on Google. You'll not find out anything, I know, because every project is unique in nature. You will have your own project created. You will have, depending upon your experience with the project, you will be creating the documentation. You may get some help, some sample template when you try to Google it, but that will not be your starting point. Basically, you will be basically doing things from scratch and creating things by yourself. That is what I have done. Because sample template, if you go try to find some sample template, you'll get more information which you don't want. You want to stick with your whatever you did, and you will be putting your words into those documentation, and you'll get those documentation approved by your project owner, that this is the documentation I've created, this is the policy which we have discussed, and this is the documentation which is kept in wiki, so that you have your project manager's approval. Hence, tomorrow if there's anyone coming up telling you no, this is not the policy, you can simply show the white paper to them. Following any sample template, I doubt will help you, because eventually you need to delete everything, you need to put your things. Okay,
Sweet, thank you.
no problem. Okay guys, so let's go back to boards. This is the topic which we were discussing yesterday. Now, how this epic and all this gets created, what are the fields and things we'll discuss today. Now, is the backlog creation is the task of a DevOps engineer? The answer is no. The Scrum Master does it. The Scrum Master will be creating all the backlogs. He will be managing the backlogs and things like that. So we are just learning. It's a good to know information. You should know how, what is epic, what is feature, what is backlog, what is product backlog, what is a user story, all the, and what are the different fields you have in the user story and things like that. I have seen many projects wherein there is no Scrum Master. So it's a very simple project, like it's 3-4 guys are working together, and there's no Scrum Master, but they do have a DevOps engineer. So sometimes you end up getting this backlog creation task also. Okay, so you should be ready. You may end up, if it's a small project, you may end up getting this backlog creation task also. So hence we are covering this work item management task over here. So the first thing is new epic. Epic is the something. So what did I say about epic yesterday? Epic is your portfolio backlog, the top level backlog which you create. For me, if I create an epic, this is something product page module I wanted to create. So I just give the title as product page module. This is how your epic will look like. I'll save this. I can assign this to anyone, like to developers. So basic epic is assigned to the Scrum Master himself. This will not be assigned to any developer, because this is the high level backlog which we are talking about. So I'll not assign anything. Now this is the state. When you start working on the epic, you can see there are 4 different states: active, resolve, close, removed. So if you see active, automatically the reason is getting changed. Implementation status, that means you started working on this epic. If you see resolve, you can see feature completed. If you see close, acceptance testing pass. If you see removed, remove from backlog. So it is directly inclined. Whatever you do in the state, the reason gets changed. Area and iterations I'll talk about in a bit. For now, just leave it. And at the top, you can tag like what exactly you're doing. Is it a web page? What exactly, which application you're working? So you can create n number of tags for yourself. For now, if I select a development tag over here, okay, you can create your own tags. You just click over here, write whatever tags you want over here. Like this is app development. See, I got a new app tag created over here. Now on the left hand side, description and discussion. Now this should be a very detailed description. So epic is something you create epic at the very beginning, and you may end up starting this epic after 6 months. So your Scrum Master is responsible to have a detailed description about what exactly this epic is all about. Because what will happen after 6 months down the line, if you pick this epic to start working on it, you'll not understand anything if you don't have a detailed description. I know you will reach out to developer. This is a continuous integration. You will reach out to the client and get the feedback and things like that. But the things which already client has repeated, do you go and ask him again? Okay, please repeat what this epic is. If there's any doubt, you can go to the client and ask him. So, so that is what will come in description, a detailed description. Discussion is something if you want to discuss things with your team members, your project owner, or if you want to highlight something. So this works very well like how you do in Instagram, at followed by the person name, and then you send some messages. Kindly check this epic. This is how you can do. Okay. Now I just save it. Email notification will be sent to this guy. Okay. Now this guy needs to go and check. He was added into this epic number 56. This is more related to your project, what you're doing, how you're doing, and things like that. Now you have the third tab, the planning tab. Now planning, you can set up the priority. You can set up two is the medium priority which you're setting up right now, and this is the priority which you should set for your development epics. This is the backlog. This is a development you're doing, guys. Okay. So two priority is more than enough, because if you set up one, that means it's the highest priority you're setting up, and you're asking others to leave everything and start working on this epic. That is what the expectation you're setting up right now by setting up one. But in development, do you think we follow this emergency change kind of thing in development? So the answer is no. So always for development related backlog, you should have two, or if that this is not that important, then you can even select three over here. Okay, two is the best what you can select. Risk, depending upon what priority you have selected, your risk will also be selected over here. Who will do all this? A Scrum Master. So you don't need to worry about. This is good to know information. Efforts, how many efforts will take, how many hours will take to complete this epic. Business value, time criticality, start time and end target, and all this you can go and select. Now these are all planning section will be discussed with the project owner, the product owner, and the Scrum Master. Then they will be putting all these numbers over here. Okay, keep that in mind. Now this was the second tab. The third tab is details tab. This is very important. Now this is the place wherein you will be linking all your related works. Now in this development, you will be linking your CI/CD pipelines. Your build and release status will be linked over here. Your repositories will be linked over here. If any repo which is getting created based out of this epic, those will be linked over here. Your related work items. So this epic will have multiple features, correct? These are the features. So this epic will be directly linked with this feature. This detail tab, this is something you'll be using a lot. Now this you will be using When I say you will be using, I'm talking about developer, DevOps engineer, testers and all. Okay. Where exactly you will be using? You'll be using this tab mostly in the user stories. Because what did I say? All user stories, whatever you do, even if you create a new branch in your repository, that should be linked with the user story. If you create a pull request, a work item needs to be linked with the, so which work item gets linked? It's the user story which gets linked. So yeah, this tab will be more useful when when a user story is assigned to a developer. Okay. Followed by you got this graph. So this is basically checking the history about the epic, like what all things were done, how the things has progressed in epic and things like that. Okay. So you can see who has made changes, who have made that, who changed the field and things like that. If you want to know, everything will be visible in this section. This is if you're linking anything, like as soon as you start linking things over here, it will start reflecting over here as well. I'll show you again when we start linking my project and things like that. I'll show you this. You can also attach some documentation to this particular tab. Now guys, many of you will, like if you have worked on work item, many of you have seen new fields inside this epic. Yeah, we can customize all these fields based on the project requirement. I'll show you the customization at the end. But for now, yeah, if you guys have come across a different field in your company, don't worry, even that can be done. You can do the customization of all these fields. You can add new fields, you can remove existing fields, you can have new tabs, you can have new options added. All this can be done. You can play around with all these tabs. Okay, don't worry. Okay, now this epic, this was the epic. This is the top level portfolio backlog which we are talking about. This top level portfolio backlog will have some sub backlogs. So you can, if you want, you can link it directly. It's a new item. It's a child. What do you want to create? A feature. Which feature do you want to create? So the product page module have sub pages such as child page. You can have a feature created. See this. Now if you see, this feature got created. You can change, like, well, let me save this. You can change the state again. Is the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Whatever you saw in Epic is the same thing. Nothing different over here. Again, it has a description. So you need to give description about child product page, discussion, priorities, and details. Save and close it. So your Epic, and this is how your Epic looks like, the crown sign. And this is a cup sign is a feature. This is how it looks like. This is assigned by default because I have not assigned to anyone. This got assigned to myself. The state is active. The area and these are your tags which we have added, followed by the comments. These tags are very important. Later, if you want to query out something, then you can make use of these tags to query things. Okay. Now, if I go back to this epic again, you will see one link. This is the child what we have linked. So if I go back to the feature, you can see this feature. So everything is linked together. Now this feature will have one more child. That is user story. Correct? Now how the flow is, this feature will have one more child, that is user story. This is the user story which a scrum master will be assigning to the developers, the team. Now I am creating one more child which is related to my child product page. Now this is how the user story looks like, guys. This is a user story. You can have tags added. You can just save, and the user story will have some more extra field. Let me discuss about that. You got the description is the same thing. You got the discussion. You got acceptance criteria. Now The page is design child product page. Now, what exactly the client is expecting, that expectation will be written over here for your reference. That the child product page should have a filter option. It should have a different set of child products getting displayed on the pages. It should have different set of filter, pricing tag, and many things. So whatever the requirement, the client requirement is, it should come right over here. Who will fill in this information? This all information will be filled by Scrum Master. The Scrum Master will fill the information like what exactly is he or she is expecting. Based on this expectation, you will start your work. Okay. There are some more points planning in the planning. The planning looks different over here. You got some story points over here. Now, suppose designing a child product page, the Scrum Master at during the Scrum planning meeting, he will ask you, dude, how much time will you take to complete this epic? Complete this user story, not epic. Complete this user story. Now you will tell, you will see your user story, see the acceptance criteria, see what the user story is all about. Post that, you will give him the story points. Story points are nothing but number of days you will take to complete this work item. Okay. Now suppose you said I can do this in 3 days. Okay, you said like I can do this in 3 days. So Scrum Master will go and put 3 over here for you. So this is 3 story points. So the jargon is we talk about story points, we don't talk about number of days in a Scrum or Agile call. We say it, okay, I'll take 3 story points, 2 story points, or sometimes the Scrum Master himself will assign some story points to you, and you need to go and negotiate, agree, disagree. That is something you can discuss along with your Scrum Master. Okay. This is very important, not just for developers, guys, even for DevOps engineer. Like suppose you got for some project, they have given you a user story for creating a CI/CD pipeline or writing some infra as a code template or build template, anything as such they have given. So you need to go and look into the story point, see into the expectation, and then you can discuss how much time you will take to complete this task. Okay. This is very important because based on the story point, your burn down chart gets created at the end of your sprint. Your burn down chart will be created based on the story points. Keep that in mind, guys. Okay. Any doubt, any questions over here with this story point and anything as such? Anyone who is using this story point concept in their company?
Yeah,
Anyone?
I use story points. I like some clarification though. So you'd say story points is kind of an equivalent to a day's worth of work, about 8 hours worth of work.
Correct. So depending upon the project, in most cases, in most of the project, we consider story point as number of days. Like if you're working as 8 hours, then 8 hours becomes one story point for you. And that is in most of the cases.
Sorry, I
That is
didn't
what you
catch that.
follow.
So you say story points are days, right?
Correct.
Okay. So like right here, 3 story
Anyone?
points, 3 days.
Yeah.
May I know
So
what is
basically for this completing, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, may know story point is nothing but a task or number of days. User story like
No,
user story.
story user story. This is the task which will be assigned to the development team. So this will be the task which will be created by the Scrum Master. Now this is something will be assigned to the actual developers, and they will be using this user story to start working on their task. This is kind of gauging their what exactly they are doing right now. And in that there is a story point. So basically if I talk about a typical definition of story point, so story point is nothing but it's a used in agile methodology, and it is used for mapping user story.
Okay.
So story point is basically used for estimation. So whenever you're planning your sprint, you estimate the team velocity, like what is the team velocity, how quantify the amount of work required, and how much task can be assigned and things like that. So basically, story points are used for quantifying the amount of work required to be done, deliver. So this is for estimation. In most of the project, we do a daily estimation, we do hourly estimation, even that is. So depending upon the project, if some in some of your projects, suppose if you're using this story point as hourly estimation, even that is not wrong, guys. So this is depending upon what type of project you're working, what your scrum master is expecting, how he's doing the estimation. If he's doing the estimation on daily basis, then one story point belongs one day, and if he's doing hourly estimation, then it could be one story point belongs to 1 hour. So it's also
For
how the
example,
estimation is happening. Yeah.
yeah. For example, if story points is nothing but 24 hours or 3 day, like 24 hours, is it correct? May I know?
No, 24 hours is a wrong estimation. If you're estimating your story point as 24 hours, because this user story will be assigned to a developer. Like, for example, the developer will definitely not be working for 24 hours. The max he will be
Yeah,
working for 8
that
hours.
meaning that's meaning that's meaning. For example, that three priority story points priority is equal to three is nothing but 24 hours or 3 days generally. There as a developer think like that.
Yeah, so developer, if I say 3 days to the developer, so for developer, the 3 days will be 8, 16, 24. It will be 24 hours for the developer. Now,
Yeah,
let me show you one more thing, then you'll understand this concept well.
So
Now, suppose,
with this, I
yeah,
thought the putting like 3 hours, that would be spring,
3
because
hours,
story
sorry.
because the way you talk about the story point, I kind of understand that it's kind of like the whole process that is required for that project to be completed.
Yes. So in a sprint, you have, like when you follow agile, you got, just take an example, you took 2 weeks of iterations. In 2 weeks, you have some specific tasks to be completed. You took one epic, let's just take an example. This is the epic which you guys took, and you got 10 people in your team, and there are so many tasks which needs to be completed. Now this is just a example of 3 I gave you. In reality, it could be less, because designing a product page will not take 3 days. Hardly it will take one story point. So basically the estimation could be in hours also. Like if suppose your engineer says I'll take around 4 to 5 hours to complete, so one over here we can do an estimation with 4. So this will be my hours in that case. Okay, but mostly in many project I saw assigning story point as days, so they keep it as 1 day over here. Now 1 day is not 24 hours, this is your working hours. I'll show you where the working hours also gets captured, like from where to when the people are working, and what is the start date and end date. Like Monday to Friday we are working, do we work on weekends? So based on that, this will be captured. Okay,
Essentially,
now,
what you're saying is it would depend on your employer. These story
yes,
points can be used differently because
correct,
currently, when I do my spring plan with my manager, we plan my work for that spring cycle, which is obviously 2 weeks, and I have to account on my board for 60 hours of work, right? So the other 20 hours is just for my own, do my own thing, but 60 hours of work has to be represented on the board. And just like you rightfully said, we use hours uh, that a story is supposed to take for me to complete. I put it into that story point, but it sounds like that could also be different in another company.
correct. So that is what, so mostly agile team use story points for estimation. So how you're doing the estimation, the estimation completely depends upon your sprint planning, your team velocity, and all this. There are many factors on which the estimation is. So based on that, they come up with what story point definition could be for them. It could be hours, it could be days, it could be based on these assumption they do the estimation. Now, still, when you have the story point, still you can have your hours captured. So this is a user story which will be created by whom? The Scrum Master. This is assigned. Suppose this got assigned to you with one story point. Now, what exactly you're doing with this story point is you need to capture it in an item called task. This is something will be created by you guys now. When I say you guys, I'm talking about dev team. Like in designing child product page, what you're doing? You're doing R&D. You will do a research and development, correct? You will do what exactly design you want and things like that. And over here, you will put your efforts, guys. The actual hours will be over here. Like suppose for R&D, you say like I'll take 4 hours. Okay, so you'll put 4 over here. Now you suppose you completed your work in 2 hours only. Within 2 hours you have completed and you still have 2 hours remaining. So this is where your hours will be captured. Do you see this? Now you have estimated original remaining is 2, so you got 2 hours more. Same way you will be creating more child. You will be creating more child. Now a task again. Now this task is basically what now you are doing some sort of coding for this particular. For example, you're doing some sort of coding. Again, for coding you'll need 6 hours, 5 hours. You have completed the work, so you can put this remaining in. This is very important tab for the dev team to make sure putting the right estimate. And if you have estimated something but you completed the work before that, you need to come and put those information again. You need to come and put those information again. Remember that, guys. Okay, save and close it. Now this is how this task and everything will be created by the dev team himself themselves. Like if you're working as a DevOps engineer and there is a task which is assigned to you, a user story has been assigned to you, so you will be going ahead and creating this task for yourself, that what exactly at this hour what you're doing. When I say one story point, that means I've given you the complete day, your complete day to you. Now you will be telling me the whole day what you did. For 2 hours you did your R&D. For 2 hours you started designing. For 2 hours you started writing templates. For 2 hours you started building and releasing pipeline. All these estimate you will give it over here. And this all estimate is very much required. At the end, your Scrum Master will create a burn-down chart. And all this information, if you're keeping this information right, all this information will be fetched in that burn-down chart automatically. So make sure to keep this. When you do your estimation, based on the estimation a story point is assigned to you, you need to have your numbers justified. Okay. Now, as I was saying, this deployment and development task is very essential. So this is, you can start linking your branches. As if now there's no branch, guys. If you see, I don't have anything right now. I don't even have a repository right now, but let me create a repository quickly. Let me have some branches created. Let me have some develop branch created. Now, imagine if you're working on a development activity. Now you're creating a new temporary branch for yourself, but there's a user story assigned to you. So you can do temp branch. So this is a temporary branch which you're creating for yourself. And then you will link your work item. So this was a user story, correct? You link your work item. Now this work item will be visible. If I go back to your work items, where is my user story? This is a user story. See, it will be visible over here. Now, whatever you do with the temp branch, you did a commit, you created a pull request, everything will start reflecting in this small window. Now, why this is important to keep all this in place? Now, suppose tomorrow if the Scrum Master or the product owner is viewing what exactly you're doing, they can simply open your user story and they can see if everything is linked, they can see what you're doing, how many tasks you have created, how many commits you did, how many pull requests you have created, what is the commit you did, what is you're pushing and pulling. And if you have your CI/CD pipeline, as if now I don't have a CI/CD pipeline, but if I have my CI/CD pipeline, you can see the CI/CD pipeline status also over here. So one window will give your product owner complete idea that what this guy is doing. They can know what exactly you are doing. All these links will be visible over here. This is the branch which you have linked. This is your child. These are the parent. Everything will be visible over here in one screen. So this is always good to have all this information linked with your user story which you're working right now. And this is what happens in reality. So remember when we created a pull request, I set up a policy that the pull request will not be completed if there's no work item linked. So yeah, so even such policies can be have in place so that no one bypass, and they have all the user stories linked. Whatever they do in Azure DevOps, everything should be linked with user story. Okay. Anyone, any questions, doubt? No questions? Okay. So these are the 4 important things: epic, feature, user story. User story, something will be assigned, and then you got the task which you create. Now, when we were creating the epic or everything, we had something called area and iteration. What exactly this area and iteration is all about? Okay, for understanding the area, let's go to project settings. Let's go to project configuration. Under project settings, project configuration. Now this is the area. Now area is basically is the default area. Now you will require multiple areas. Suppose you will require a different set of area for your development activity. You will require a different set of area for your production activity. You will require a different set of area for your testing activity. So you can do a proper segregation. So all the development activity user story will be kept in development area. All the production related activity tickets will be kept, user stories will be kept into the production area. So
So
Valaxy
would you say
DevSecOps,
area would be the equivalent of, let's say, a folder?
yes, you can take it as folder. So it's a segregation which you're doing. Okay, that is what area is all about. So area is basically used by teams to determine what shows up on the team's backlog. So you have a QA team who is working on QA activity. So the team will the QA doesn't want to look to what's happening in development, what's happening in production. They don't want to look into that. So they are just focused on looking into QA window and QA what all user stories are assigned to the QA team. Same goes with the development. The development are not even bothered what QA is doing. They want their separate section wherein they can see all the development related user stories or the backlogs. So that segregation can be done with the area. Now, for example, if you want to create an area, you can have an area created, like for example, I said production, correct? Let's see, have production area. Similarly, if you want to have tester areas, you can have testers area. You can have development area. So this is how you will be segregating development area. Now, how do you use it in your user stories? So come to your work item. Now you can start segregating things. Like you got one user story. I can come to this area. This user story is basically for development. I keep it for development. That's it. This will be, this work item backlogs will be visible in development section. I'll show you from where you can filter out things later. But for now, just keep that in mind. Now, if you come down, see the area path got changed. It is development. Now, if you want to filter out things, you can filter out with your development also. So your development guy will just come and use this filter at the top, and he can just filter out things from development area. If you want everything from your project, you can simply have everything. Okay. Now there's a second thing, iterations. Iteration is like a number of days, the sprint. This is all done when you do the project planning. When you do the project planning, then at that time you can set up your date. So how much time you will take to complete the entire project. So you will have a rough estimate that I'll take around 1 year of time. For example, this project will start on 20th March and this will go on till 31st March 2024. It's a big project. It's agile. That's why we are using agile. It's a big project, correct? So you have selected a start date and end date, and you guys have decided that we need 2 weeks of iteration. So this is where you will set the iteration date. Your project starts on 20th. Your iteration 2 weeks will get over on 2nd. So you have selected that my iteration 1 will be of 2 weeks. Secondly, you can select for your second iteration, automatically the start date and end date will be selected. You can also have your third iteration. This way you can keep increasing your iterations. Now, if you want to have new iteration, you can simply click on new and a new iteration will be created. Now, how do you use it in your work items? Now, this user story needs to go in the first iteration itself. We have decided this user story will go in first iteration. You simply go in the drop down, select the first iteration. So within this time period, you need to complete this user story. That means now you select the iteration. No, this user story is part of iteration 1. Same goes with your epic. Now when do you are expecting this epic to get completed? So you decided this epic belongs to development, and this is we need to complete this in iteration 1 itself. This is how your area and iterations will be selected in real time. Who will be selecting? Your not DevOps engineer, your Scrum Master and the product owner. This will be discussed, and then this 2 columns will be selected. Are we good? Anyone, any questions with the work item? Now I have limited options over here, so I need more information, like more work items over here. So I'll go to any of my project and I'll get the work item from there and I'll insert it over here. So it's kind of a migration which I'm doing. That is something I'll show you tomorrow, how the migration will happen, because I need a good amount of data to work with. Because if I just go and create things manually, it is very time consuming. So what I'll do, I'll be migrating work items from my existing project. Like suppose this is my project. Do I have a work item over here? Yeah, I have a good amount of work item over here. So what I'll do, I'll just get this all work item and I'll migrate this in this project. I'll show you how exactly the migration happens, because you may end up working on a migration when you're working on Azure DevOps. You may end up working on migration projects also. What migration? What did I say? My Azure DevOps, before Azure DevOps, it was TFS. In TFS also they had the similar board section over there. So if people are if you get to a project wherein they are moving from TFS to Azure DevOps, you may end up doing the same thing, which I'll show you. So this migration is something we'll do it tomorrow. I'll show you how exactly we import the work item into our boards and how the query gets created that you can fetch everything at once. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, previously you have submitted some link to fill the form for that to access this link. In that you told that you just for the company name you just use till the DevOps Mela DevOps link. So if we use this link, then all the settings that you are doing that all imported, or is just for the company name?
No, that was just an example. So
Okay.
this is my company name. You need to give your name. So when you sign in to Azure DevOps for the very first time, it will prompt you for write an organization name. So my organization name is this.
Yeah, means I have selected as a means Valaxy means the setting will not import it.
No,
It just
nothing will import.
okay, okay,
It's your own private.
okay.
Okay, guys. So tomorrow we'll continue with boards. Tomorrow we'll see how the migration will happen. So I already have a data created. I'll be migrating that data, but don't worry, later I'll show you how that data got created, how exactly I've created that data. That is something I'll show you, don't worry. Okay, there are a few more options like I was talking about. we were talking about in the project setting team configuration, you can also have the working days, like how your team will be working Monday to Friday. So Monday to Friday, if we say, then we got 5 days a week. If I check this Saturday box, which I don't want to do it, then it will be 6 days a week. So even this information can be selected, how many days your team is working. Based on this days, your capacity and burn down chart are created. These days plus the number of hours you put in your task, the number of story points which you put in the task, based on all this information, your burn down chart which gets created at the end of the day. So burn down chart is basically giving you the right estimate, like how many hours my team has worked, how many works we have completed, how many remaining hours, how many hours are still remaining with us. All this information will be there in your capacity and burn down chart. Okay, so that's it for today. Anyone has any questions, any doubt, please do let me know. And tomorrow we'll continue with the same topic, boards. And there are now tomorrow I'll show you the actual thing what a DevOps engineer will do in the boards, writing query fetching, user story based out of those queries. That is something we'll do. So I'll show you guys tomorrow. Anyone else, any question, any doubt, please do let me know, or else we can wind up. Anyone, any question? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much, guys. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's continue with this topic. Bye bye.